Hey everybody. As you can see up there, I'm here to talk about the NFL season. I don't have no schedules on me right off the bat because that would take too long to read. But I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to look at the divisions and kind of play off of what happened last year. Now, last year, we all know that the Super Bowl champion for last season was the Giants. I mean, they were 9-7. They've just gotten into the playoffs, if you will, won the division, got into the playoffs. But, let's be honest, nobody gave them a chance to win. And look what happened. They win. They win the wild card game. They win the divisional playoff. They come into my backyard, the Bay Area, win at San Francisco, and they go on to beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl. I think that's who they faced. Anyway, that was the unpredictability of last year. So that's why I'm going to start with the NFC and go through the divisions right here. And the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to pick one division as sort of like the division to keep an eye out for, your wild card division. The ones that you got to keep the teams in that division you got to keep an eye on because they could come out of nowhere and turn the whole NFL, the entire conference they're in, upside down. And the division that gets that right off the bat, the wild card division to keep an eye out for, and the teams involved in it, is the division the Giants are from, the NFC East. Why? Because that division, if last year is any indication of what could happen with a team from the NFC East, then that's the division to keep an eye on. That's your wild card division. Because let's take a look at it. Dallas, no doubt, is going to improve from last year. They were all right. I mean, Romo had his days, Romo had his weeks, and he didn't have his weeks. But I've got a feeling they're going to improve offensively and defensively, and obviously they showed that last night by winning by 7. But there's still a lot of improvement to be made. Right now, because of the first win last night, they're the division leader in the East. But that could all change. And ironically, the champions, the Super Bowl champions, are dead last in the division. But it's only one game, folks. Only one game. The offense and defense of Dallas has improved. But the question is, will that offense and defense improving prove to be what they need to take it to the next level this year? Believe it or not, Jerry Jones is on the hot seats as owners go when it comes to his team. I mean, he gets this big old new stadium that can seat over 80,000, about 80,000 people, if not more so, for concert and wrestling events and boxing events. And yet, his team can't return to prominence as America's team. Well, you know what? He's got that opportunity this year in the division you got to keep an eye on, the wild card division of the NFC, the East Division. Why? Because Dallas, I believe, will make the playoffs this year. I don't know why, I just get this feeling. They may make the playoffs with the same kind of record the Giants made it with last year. Will the Giants make the playoffs? Yeah, they'll make it, and I wouldn't be surprised if they get a bye this year. If they make it, improve themselves, and then get a bye. But then again, I wouldn't be surprised if the Giants and the Cowboys both get wild card berths as well. So those two are potential playoff teams. Philadelphia, I feel, is going to be in the wild card mix, but I believe this may not be the year. I've got this feeling. It may not be the year for Philadelphia. But then again, I could be wrong. I have a feeling it may not be the year for Philadelphia. But again, I could be wrong. The division is strong. I know they're improving. But according to what some people have said, Andy Reid has got a lot of pressure on him this year because he's got to make something happen. So if they do make the playoffs, My guess is there'll be a wild card team as well, but I'm not necessarily saying that that's what's going to happen. So my estimation is they'll probably be 8-8, just barely missing the playoffs. Then the Redskins. Well, the Redskins are going to be the team to look out for in that division, in that wild card division. As you notice, the East. Why? Because they now, well, not only do they have RG3 now, but apparently they're improving a lot more on defense and offense. The question is, will that be enough to at least get them to 500? To at least 500 as far as records, as far as a win-loss record this year. That remains to be seen. Sometimes when a person like RG3 comes in, it usually catapults, for some odd reason, it catapults the team to the next level. We have seen that in the past. But will it happen again this year? We don't know. All I know is the first game, to me, the first game Washington plays this Sunday is going to tell the story. If they do great, then hey, they might have a decent season. My estimation, just like Philadelphia, they'll probably reach 500, but they won't make the playoffs. Not this year. So if there's any, they won't make the playoffs this year, but if there's any teams that will come out of the East as playoff contenders, as those that will make it in, either by a wild card or in like maybe New York's case, divisional, it'll be the Giants, and it'll be Dallas, and that'll be the division to look out for. Why do I say that? Because Philadelphia is on the border of making the playoffs this year, maybe, maybe not. Washington, I believe, will just barely miss it. But we'll see what happens. But that, to me, is your division in the NFC to look out for, your wild card division. Now, for your powerhouse division. Your powerhouse division, I don't think you have to look any further than, and I know I may sound biased here, your powerhouse division, you've got to go with the West. San Francisco last year proved that they were getting back to the dynasty era, getting back to what they were known for, being a dynasty. Yeah, they missed the Super Bowl by that much. They missed it. But I got a feeling this year is going to be a better year. And the reason I say the NFC West is going to be a powerhouse division is because San Francisco, I believe, is going to start leading the way. There's no doubt about it. They're going to really take off. Again, it all depends on the first game and how they do. And I'm hoping they do great. But it's all about that first game and what we get. I mean, we have Randy Moss. We have basically all our weapons back, if you will. We have Moss. He along with Michael Crabtree, and Frank Gore, and the list could go on. I think we've got ourselves a great team this year. There's no doubt about it, and I think it's going to be a step better than last year. Now, as far as other people out of that division, if there's any team that will make the playoffs via wild card out of the West, I believe it has to go to Arizona. I truly do. Arizona may have not looked good so far in the preseason, but I've got a feeling they're going to be your surprise. They're going to be your surprise team out of the West. They're going to try to make a run. They'll probably be the team that gives San Francisco the most trouble, but I believe Arizona will probably make it into the playoffs this year via wild card. Via wild card. This is how much I believe they're going to make it in. By that much. Seattle and St. Louis, I believe they're going to improve. St. Louis, I believe, is going to reach 500. Seattle, they're kind of questionable, but I don't think they'll make 500. At all. St. Louis, I believe it, but Seattle and St. Louis, I don't think will make the playoffs this year. St. Louis probably will miss it by that much. Seattle will probably drop down to 7-8, which will not, unlike 2 years ago, not be good enough for the playoffs. Now, the NFC North. The NFC North, I think, is going to be an intriguing division to look out for, an intriguing division. You have Chicago, Detroit, Green Bay, Minnesota. The team to beat this in the North, obviously, is Green Bay. And this is what I predict is going to happen. The team to beat in the North is Green Bay Packers, And the team that's going to stand in the way, actually two teams that are going to stand in the way, is Chicago and Detroit. Minnesota will give them a run for the money, but I don't think it's Minnesota's year just yet. But the teams that are really going to give them a run for the money is Detroit and Chicago. And they're both, I'm feeling all four games that they play against each other in Green Bay, in Detroit, in Green Bay, in Chicago, are all going to be pivotal to who wins that division. To who wins that division. It's all going to be pivotal to who wins the division, and probably makes the playoffs as a wild card team. And who gets a bye. Detroit made it last year, but let's see what happens this year. Again, the three top teams out of that, Chicago, Detroit, Green Bay. The team to beat is Green Bay. The team that I feel is going to sneak in as a wild card, again for the second year in a row, will be Detroit. Chicago, well, I'll get to them later on as well. But those are the three teams to look out for in that division. And essentially, the three teams to beat in that, or the three teams to beat each other, I should say, in that division to try to make a run for the playoffs. And then we got the South, the NFC South, New Orleans, Tampa Bay, Carolina, and Atlanta. New Orleans is definitely a great team. You got to keep an eye out for them. Carolina, I believe, is going to really step up this year, and Atlanta is going to step up as well. Tampa Bay, they're there, but they're not there yet. So I believe the team to beat out of the South Division is going to be New Orleans, and I believe the team that's going to probably stand in the way, believe it or not, will not be Atlanta, be Carolina. Carolina will be the one that stands in New Orleans' way of trying to be a divisional champion and make the playoffs. So that's how I look at the NFC South. As the division is going to be opened up. It's basically the South, to me, is an open field for three. It's going to be an open field, but the NFC South, to me, is about two teams only. Carolina, New Orleans. Those are the ones I feel are going to be battling it out for that division title and for a playoff berth. Now, as far as the AFC division goes, not the division, but the AFC conference goes, let me check my time here, folks. Okay, as far as the AFC conference goes, again, going to apply the same thing to the AFC as I did with the NFC. The division to look out for is your wild card team. Your wild card division will be talked about here in a little bit. But let's talk about your powerhouse division first. And obviously, you got to start with the East. The AFC East, you got New England in there, obviously a powerhouse threat every year. You got the Buffalo Bills, you got the Jets, and you got Miami. Well, New England, no doubt, is the team to beat in the AFC East. No doubt about that. You got Tom Brady. He's got that offensive line, that great offensive line and defensive line. He's got every weapon you could think of, offensively and defensively. So they're going to be the team to beat. And the team that's going to give them a run for their money in this Eastern Division, believe it or not, will not just be the Jets. The Jets will always give them a run for their money. Everybody knows that. But the surprise team that's going to give New England a run for the money is Buffalo. That's right. Buffalo is going to give New England a run for their money, just like the Jets will, and maybe be the one that causes New England to get in the playoffs as a wild card team. You heard me right, a wild card team. And why? Because I believe that's going to open the door for the Jets to be this year's AFC Eastern Division champions. I'm not lying, folks. I truly believe that, in my honest opinion, Buffalo is going to be the one that causes trouble for New England. Miami, I believe they'll get to a 500 record, but I think they'll barely miss the playoffs this year. I mean, they're a good team, but I don't think it's their year just yet. But that, to me, is the powerhouse division to look out for as far as the AFC East, as far as the AFC conference goes, the East Division, and the team that's going to give New England a big-time run for the money and probably cause trouble for them is going to be the Buffalo Bills. Now, the AFC North, that's going to be an open field To me, that's your open field. That's basically up for grabs. It's your up for grabs division. In other words, anybody could take it. And I believe all 4 teams involved are going to be battling it out. Even Cleveland, that's right, Cleveland, who I believe is going to be your surprise team in the South, AFC South, is going to be giving any team that has that divisional lead a run for the money. And I believe you're going to get maybe 1 or 2 wild card teams out of the AFC North, or out of these 4 teams. So again, to me, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, and Cleveland, their division is an up for grabs division. Anybody this year, I feel, will be able to take it. And then we get to your wild card division. The division to keep an eye on. The division to keep an eye on for the AFC West. You thought I was going to say something else. I'll get to that division in a minute. But the AFC West, yeah, it's definitely the division to look out for. I mean, you have 4 teams, I believe. You should. Oakland, San Diego, Kansas City, and Denver are definitely your teams to keep an eye out for, especially now that you got Peyton Manning in a Denver Bronco uniform. Peyton Manning, to me, is going to be the spark that Denver needs, and I believe is going to lead Denver probably to the playoffs. I don't know, as a divisional champion team that gets a bye or what, but I can tell you this is the division to keep an eye out for. This is the division that could turn on the AFC upside down. I mean, Kansas City's gotten good, Oakland's getting better, San Diego's there, so basically that's your division to keep an eye out for. That's your division to keep an eye out for, because it could turn everything upside down. That's your division right there. Right there. That's your division to keep an eye out for, your AFC wildcard division. The teams that could turn things upside down. Because you never know. Just because you think the AFC West could be a powerhouse, just because you think, well, could be one of the powerhouse divisions, it's not. To me, this year, it's going to be a wildcard division. It's going to be the division that throws you off. It's going to be the division you least expect to make a run for the AFC when it comes to getting to the playoffs and Super Bowl. And I believe it's going to have a divisional winner with a bye and a wild card team involved. And then we get to the AFC South. This, to me, I feel, let's call it my surprise division. The division that's going to give the AFC East a run for its money as a powerhouse. The surprise division, the division that's going to come out of nowhere there and give a division and teams like New England a run for the money. Houston definitely improved. We've seen that. Jacksonville, always a contender when they can be. Tennessee, the same way. Indianapolis definitely needs to start rebuilding after last year. But it's going to be the surprise division. To me, it's going to be the one that comes out of nowhere. It's not a wild card division, which can turn things upside down. No, this is going to be the division where their teams are going to be like, hey, you face us, you're going to be in for a battle, folks. That's what I feel is going to happen with this division. It's going to be your surprise division. And again, I feel this is going to be the division where the champion gets a divisional bye. I truly do. So, that's my thoughts on the NFL season as far as both conferences go. But who do I see, as I would mention, making the playoffs? Well, I said there's many wild card scenarios. You got your wild card divisions that I talked about. Well, here's what I see happening. Out of the East Division, I see the Dallas Cowboys, hear me out, I see the Dallas Cowboys winning the divisional title, being the East Division champions this year, but obtaining a wild card spot. That's what I see. I see the Giants coming out of there as well as a wild card team. So, Giants and Cowboys will make the playoffs. Cowboys, I'm predicting, get the East Division title this year. The North. this is what I believe is going to happen. Detroit is going to come out of nowhere, become the divisional champion this year. And, get this, I feel Detroit's going to get a bye. That's just my personal opinion. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I feel Detroit's going to get a bye this year with the by becoming divisional champions. They'll get a bye. The wild card team to come out of there will be Green Bay. I'm not trying to disappoint Chicago fans, but I feel the wild card team to come out of there will be Green Bay. Then you got the NFC South. This one, I believe, is going to come down to Carolina and New Orleans. I believe Carolina is going to get to division, and they're going to get a wild card as well. So there's your 4 wild card teams right there. Dallas, New York Giants, Green Bay Packers, and Carolina Panthers. Your 2 divisional champions who are wild card teams and 2 other wild card teams are in there. Those are the ones. Detroit, one of the divisional champions that gets a bye. I believe Carolina is going to be the one that wins this division. NFC West, do you have to ask? San Francisco, of course, they dominated last year. I believe they're going to repeat hopefully this year. San Francisco wins the division, gets a bye as well. So what does that mean? Well, that obviously means this. As far as the wild card teams go, New York Giants will face Green Bay. New York Giants will face Green Bay, probably in Green Bay. Carolina will probably host the what am I talking about? I'm sorry about that. The Giants, I believe, will go to Carolina, and Dallas, I believe, will host the Green Bay Packers as far as playoff teams go. That's what I believe the first 2 wild card games will be when it's postseason time. As far as the AFC goes, New England, I believe, is going to win the division, but they're going to be a wild card team when they do it. Buffalo, wild card as well. Up for grabs, North Division of the AFC, it's up for grabs, but I believe Pittsburgh gets it this year. They will win the division. They'll become a wild card team, and they'll also have a wild card team out of that division as well. The AFC South, the surprise team, I believe Houston's going to win the division, get a bye. I truly believe that. They're going to get a bye. I really believe that. And as far as the AFC West goes, I feel Denver will win the division, Kansas City will get a wild card. That's what I feel. And this is how I look at it. New England will host Kansas City. Denver will get a bye. We know that with the divisional win. Houston will get a bye. So I said New England will host Kansas City, and I believe Buffalo will go to Pittsburgh to face the Steelers as far as the wild card games go. That's how I see the postseason starting for the AFC. New England hosting Kansas City, Pittsburgh hosting Buffalo. So those are my thoughts basically on the NFL season 2012, the 2012-13 NFL season, and what I believe will be the start of the what 8 teams, I should say, will start the postseason as in wild card games. I'll talk about who I feel will get to the Super Bowl as the season progresses, and who I feel will make season progresses. And that's all I'm going to say. Comment, video response down below. Thank you all for watching.